us together. And I'd like to just pause for a moment to create those words. Da nen soda hosioste nen ganchokwa. Nen gahili den yo sanunya din yugo hawit. Nen yung guayat din yando nen latkahladin kinahan na hunji. Nen dogaske gui. Nen yo sanunya den halibagwe gol. Nen jungwa wahe nen skana den donok dunyo. Nen uska hingwa negula nen yung hawit. Nen gahili den ay kwale huanagin nen yung guayat again huslan and ladik sa su ladik sta hako. Nen halibagwe gol nen skana den donok dunyo. Da negadi hui, nen yo sanunit en sungkwawin sungkwayadiso nen swahnislat, nen badanun dak, nen jungwa wahin yung nagun niyohage, nen latka hladin kinohao, da negadi hui, nen tonihun duhagen in yung nego. As it is in our minds together, that's why we've gathered, we have these words of honor, these words of respect that we want to extend to each and every one of you. And with that being said, I'd like to introduce to you our tribal secretary who will present this recognition opportunity. I'd ask you to put your hands together for Secretary Lisa Summers.
Thank you for the introduction, Artley. I appreciate it. Good morning, everyone. Saguli swagwake, yegwadagwas ni yungyat, o kolyat ga niwagita loda, wage se wage ni hota loda. My name is Lisa Summers. I am the current tribal secretary for the Oneida Nation. I am serving my second term here, and I have the honor and pleasure today to provide you with a little bit more background information about our event today and to be able to present these two wonderful fire departments with the gifts that we will bestow upon them. Before I do that, I do want to again extend a special welcome and thank you to each of the town of Oneida and the village of Hobart and your respective fire departments for being here today. We really do appreciate it, and we really are appreciative and of all the hard work and dedication that you put into making sure that our land and our people are protected here on the reservation. So now we'll get to it a little bit. For this morning, we are gathered here to present the town of Oneida and the village of Hobart with the fire departments with life-saving equipment. And it is our intent today with our contribution that the men and women on the front line have the tools that they need to provide better protection services to the citizens of the nation and also to the citizens of the people in the community around us. So before I get into the really good stuff, I do want to share a little bit of background with you about Oneida Nation's government-to-government history. The Oneida Nation and the United States government do have a unique government-to-government relationship, and it was forged several hundred years ago, and it was solidified in treaties that we created with the U.S. government. Those responsibilities that the government has to the Oneida Nation are called trust responsibilities. And part of those responsibilities do include certain programs and services being provided to the Oneida Nation. Those include law enforcement, healthcare, education, and fire protection. And in 1975, Congress passed what is known as the Indian Self-Determination and Education Assistance Act. And that allowed tribes to reclaim their responsibilities for providing these services and programs to their community members. And in 1994, Oneida Nation did become one of those self-governance tribes. And with that decision, we launched an era of government-to-government relationships through the exercise of sovereignty over these programs and services that are provided to the community. Now, although we took responsibility to oversee these programs and services, that didn't eliminate the United States trust responsibility. That still remains intact today. And part of that responsibility from the U.S. government is to help provide financial support to these types of programs and services. So now you may be wondering, well, who's covered by these services and who's governed by the Self-Governance Act? Well, we do have an answer for that question. On the Brown County side of the Oneida Reservation, the village of Hobart covers almost 33% of Oneida Nation's land base. And in that land base, there is approximately 1,200 tribal members that live there, which makes up about 15.6% of the village of Hobart's population. On the Outagamie County side of the Oneida Reservation, the town of Oneida covers approximately 59.3% of Oneida land space. In that land base, there's approximately 2,000 tribal members that live on that part of the reservation, which makes up about 45% of the population. Now, I'm also proud to state and want to acknowledge that on the town of Oneida Volunteer Fire Department, we do have 8 enrolled tribal members that volunteer there on a consistent and regular basis. So thank you for that support. So now we'll get into a little bit of why we're here today. And now that we've had a little bit of a Cliff's Note version of what it means to have that trust responsibility with the federal government, I want to touch base a little bit more about why we are here. And it's because the nation is wanting to implement our responsibility for the fire protection part of the service. And we know that we need to do that in coordination with our partners, the Village of Hobart and the Town of Oneida. The funds provided will support the tools that are needed by both fire departments to improve fire protection for the Oneida Nation citizens, as well as for all of the citizens in all of our communities that we live together with. The use for these funds could have been used in a variety of different ways, from supporting tribal staff, training volunteer fire departments, replacing old equipment, or purchasing new equipment. The Oneida Business Committee collaborated with both the village and with the town in order to determine how to best utilize these funds and make sure that there's a continuous improvement for the protection of the people and the land. When we talked with the fire departments, we determined that once again, through good governance decision-making with one another, that it was best to use the funds for the purchase of equipment. So with that, I would like to ask for the representatives of the Village of Hobart to come on up. If you could please join me. No, not this way, not this one. Thank you. And with this, we would like to present to you with the extrication equipment that's presented here today. I really appreciate all of the work and the dedication that you provide to our community. And if there's anything that you would like to say, I'll turn it over to you.
On behalf of the Village of Hobart, I would like to thank Oneida Nations for this generous donation. Our fire department, as you said, we service both communities, and this will allow us, with the state-of-the-art equipment, in a perfect world, I hope we never have to use it, but we all know better, so they will have the top of the line of tools and that to get the job done if needed. So, Oneida Nation, thank you very much for the donation.
All right, thank you again very much for all of the services that you provide to the nation. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now I would like to ask for the Town of Oneida representatives to please come forward. And once again, it is my honor and pleasure to make sure that we have represented to the Town of Oneida a check in the amount of $31,200. This check will be used for the purchase of a much-needed generator for the Town of Oneida's Fire Department. And when things like power outages and things like that, the generator will help power the facility to make sure that they're able to continue to operate. And then also my understanding is that the fire department in the Town of Oneida is also used as a command center. So that will also assist in making sure that there's continued emergency services when we have things like Mother Nature, when she decides to show up like she did last night. We had some power out in the town. That generator will help make sure that operations continue to run smoothly. So with that, I would like to turn it over to Chairman Schomburg for any additional comments.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the Oneida tribe for donating this money for the generator, and it was something that we had in plans for years. We didn't know how to fund it. We were struggling with it. This is really going to help us get this generator going and have a safe place for, as the rest of the country has seen this year, many tornadoes that have put power down forever in these places, and now we'll have a place with for a safe house, or a place for people to sleep or wherever in case of that situation. And we'd really appreciate what you all done for us, and the services we provide for the Oneida and for the Town of Oneida people is greatly appreciated.
right, thank you very much, gentlemen. And with that said, my part is now over, so I am going to go ahead and turn back over the mic to our MC for the day, Mr. Artley Skenador. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Summers. A couple Yawangos are in order at this point as we close out this opportunity. And one of the things that I was reminded as I was listening to the recognition is that we also want to take a moment and give a special mention to a young man that just recently retired. We want to express our gratitude to Mr. Chris Johns, who's the former self-governor, that we acknowledge him on this special day. The second, Mr. James Bidorf, and their hard work in making sure that, but if there's anybody here that's a first responder, if you'd raise your hand to be recognized. Because first responders come from the community. That first wave of safety, provide the calm state that you got to have in situations of challenge. And so I certainly want to, in these types of days of cloudy weather, they're busy. Whether they want to be or not, they're busy. So we want to certainly acknowledge her. And then the statement that I wanted to make is that all of the people that are mentioned, the village of Holy, in the surrounding neighborhood, as neighbors to each other, service, the commitment round of applause for working together. Acknowledgement is to the Oneida community itself. From the youngest to the oldest, as I mentioned at the beginning, to the youngest to the oldest is what we're, because it's about incidences of challenge, and fires and things like that, that we all work together for that partnership as good neighbors. And so with that, I thank you for the opportunity to serve as your MC today, and more and better